Moving on to agenda item 3, the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any members of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any items on the consent agenda be removed and placed as the last item under new business to receive a full discussion. Such requests will automatically be respected. Anyone in the public like anything moved out of the consent agenda? Mike, is there anything on Zoom or any other? Okay. Any requests from the commission? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second. Roll call.
Nimchak.
Aye.
Moody.
Aye.
Meehan.
Aye.
Lassiter.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Moving on to consent agenda item 4, citizens' comments. This is the time for anyone in the public to make comments in regards to anything not on the agenda. You will be given 5 minutes and Jessica will be taking the time. Please state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Sandy Pritchard, 526 East Lincoln Street. 2 items. One is feedback, and it's a request that each commissioner, as you have issues and items that come before on the agenda, is that each commissioner clearly states their position. I've noticed that in many cases, the comment is "I'm good," or something less than revealing of that individual commissioner's position on the matter. And as elected official, that you folks need to know where each of you stand. So that's feedback. The second is just a curiosity. I guess I didn't see anything. I was unable to attend the last meeting. And the status of the pump house and what was referred to as the clogging project. I know there was some report a few weeks ago about that, and I wondered if there's a current status on that. That's it.
Thank you. Mike, before we move on to any other public comment, can you provide a status in regards to the pump?
2 of the 3 pumps are operating on a regular basis. Our crews are still cleaning them out as we're determining the best way to proceed with those. The contractor has been making other improvements to the project. It's not cleaned out or completed or accepted yet. So we're still working our way through that and a number of other issues with that as we work our way to completion.
Okay. Do you have any timeline or potential ETA or any feedback from the engineers?
I was in communications with them yesterday. It's looking like it'll probably be sometime in September, with the timelines that they're giving for generator installation and some of the other items that we're looking at.
Okay. Can you just provide us with an update in that timeline? Sure, we get that update.
Yep.
Okay. Any other public comments? Anything virtually?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to correspondence, agenda item 5, we received a letter from Charter Communications. Is there any questions in regards to correspondence? Any discussion? Okay, moving on, agenda item number 6, city manager's report.
A few items for you this afternoon. Glad to be able to report that the splash pad is back in operation after repairs and alterations to the plumbing were done. We keep an eye on that, maybe doing some more tweaking as the season continues or after the season's over. The exterior restrooms on the east side of the pavilion out here are back in service after repairs were made to the sanitary sewer line. Crews will be working on the completion of the cleanup in the next couple of weeks. Last week's food truck rally was a huge success, and as reported from the Main Street manager in every way, basically that everyone was so happy that was there that they're planning on coming back for next year. There were 10 food trucks and 5 different beverage vendors. That you want to make sure to give a shout out to Challenge Mountain for allowing them to use their snow fencing. Almost on cue, and you may have noticed it when you came in here today, but pavement parking on city streets and parking areas is continuing on a daily and nightly basis. The process was recently delayed by recent rains, but they're getting back on track. They were releasing center line paint out here on Lake Street just a few minutes before the meeting started. The new shelter that's being constructed at Peninsula Beach Park by the Rotary Club is moving forward. Yesterday, they received the necessary concrete forms from their contractor that they've been waiting for. So they can finish the foundation and then be moving on from there. The new electric gate at the airfield is mainly installed. The contractor was out there testing and working on that yesterday. That's at the airport and should be in operation before our next meeting on August 8th. We expect to have the late ice Butler matter back before the City Commission for further discussions at our next meeting on August 8th. The auditors have begun their annual audit of the city's financial records. Tomorrow here in the City Hall between 1 and 4 p.m. our EMS department in conjunction with McLaren Northern Michigan Hospital will be providing free individual stroke screenings here. It's a multi-step assessment and it will take about a half an hour and provide the individual with important information on their own stroke risks and steps that they can take to avoid them. The Michigan Municipal League has just opened registrations for their upcoming annual convention in October. That will run on the 18th through the 20th. And it's taking place this year at Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City. This event, they move around various locations each year. With this convention taking place nearby, it's a great opportunity to attend some excellent sessions without the need for overnight lodging. The lowest price for registrations is available now through September 15th. And if any commissioners are interested, please let Jessica know. I'd be glad to answer any questions on these or other items that I can.
Any questions in regards to the manager's report? Good. Okay. Moving on, agenda item 7, reports of officers, reports, and standing committees. We all received the June 2023 financial statements in our agenda packet. There's no questions there. I'm going to jump ahead to agenda item 9, new business A, open space phase 1 improvements, bid results recommendation.
As the city commissioner will recall, in late 2022, Boyne City was awarded a Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant for the amount of $300,000. That was out of a total estimated project at that time of $420,000. That was for the Boyne City Open Space Pathway project. As part of that grant, the city pledged to provide a local match of $120,000, 29% of the project total. Since that time, our consultants for the project, Dr. Rager, have prepared the with the commission's input and approval of bid documents for that project. Requests for bids were issued and publicized on May 11th of this year for that work. Bids were due and open here at City Hall on June 6th. Included in the commission's packet is the attached bid tabulation, which shows that only one bid was received, and that was from Montag Construction of Charlevoix, with a base bid amount of $497,450. Given current circumstances, the state granted approval to proceed with the project award, although they, much like we do, prefer multiple bids and generally require the receipt for the bid. In preparing for this year's budget, which began on May 1st, the city's local match was budgeted for in the amount of $250,000. So we added additional money on top of the $120,000 that was required by the state grant. And that's coming out of the Parks Fund's $407,000 total capital outlay total. This means that with the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant of $300,000, $550,000 available for this project. In addition to their base bid, Montag provided 3 alternates that's shown on the bid tabulation sheet. Alternate 1 and 2 leave the pavement removal and utility pole relocation from the project on their part, reducing the project by $8,682 and $715 respectively, or both alternates were taking for a savings of $9,397. It's been recommended by our DPW utility director, Doug Marty, that our crews do this work and that alternates 1 and 2 be accepted. Alternate 3 provides for additional work in alternate seating methods for the entire area, which would increase the project's cost by $22,600. The Park and Recreation Commission reviewed this matter at a meeting last week and recommends that, 2 weeks ago, it recommends that alternate 3 be accepted. By accepting all 3 alternates, the revised bid total comes to $510,653. That would leave a contingency amount of $39,347 compared to the budget plus grant amount total. At their meeting on July 13th, the Parks and Recreation Commission did approve a motion to recommend to the City Commission that the bid for on-time construction be accepted with the alternates as noted. We have with us today Tim Knudsen from Beckett and Rader, a consultant on the project, that can review any questions that the commission has on this matter. I'd be glad to answer any questions the commission has, and we recommend that the commission accept the bid for the with the 3 alternates for the total cost of $510,653. Answer any questions or anything like that? Adam Strickland.
Yeah, I'll have him go to the podium. Are you still showing this material?
Yes. Yes.
So if there's anyone in the public who wants to be able to share this material, Mr. Newsom has the diagram up there. If you have any questions, any of the material that you can't see, we do have some material in front of us I can share. So just bring it up as an option. Go ahead.
Well, for the folks who can't see the screen or haven't seen the project, it's the first phase of a number of phases that went master plan for the open space. This phase involves placement of the sidewalk. This is the 10-foot-wide sidewalk on Boyne Street, that's 70 wide, because this will also be the eventual Boyne City to Charlotte Trail, to meet non-motorized trail requirements, standard every 10 foot width. So it includes that walkway along Lake Street at a 10-foot width. And then this interior walkway, which is 60 wide, within the street. A number of tree trees on the north side of the sidewalk. These that were reduced from a previous knowledge. The collective opinion was to be block these lakes. Number of reasons is, and the third component in this plan is some restoration of the shoreline of the ordinary height. That will, from the boulders off the top of this edge, get into that edge and lay it back in a more gradual slope right now. That slope goes about the way from the base of the lake to where the lawn is. So we'll lay that back a little bit. Place the sidewalk and the space between the sidewalk and the lake will be a combination of native plants that provides an ability to erosion and the next boulders in that space also to also help us regarding shoreline. Any questions on the plan and space itself? Answer any questions from the speaker?
Yeah, so anyone has specific questions before we go to public? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a few here. I guess they're probably all the alternate seating in option 3 of all the grass. But is that like hybrid seating or it's actually bringing in a thick layer of topsoil and 4 or 3 inch layer and hybrid seating on top of that. In the original plan, we were disturbing the large area of material that was ungrade. The intent originally was split seed that, just top dress it, and split seed it, and that was guidance we got from our office, and the landscape contractor that visited the site said we wait for the least traffic alternate to provide a thick layer of topsoil and hydro seed for the rest of the site, so that was for that alternate.
Okay. Is there, we gonna be able to irrigate that, see to keep the grass healthy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, part of the bid price is automatic irrigation for the entire site. So
Of the 22,000 or
yes, of the entire property. So it'll catch the interior as well as the areas we serve. So it should be irrigated, basically property line to street frontage.
that would be in this phase, the irrigation would be in this, I assume we're gonna be mowing that grass, is that correct, Lane?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's our group, we'll be doing that, yes.
Okay. And I give just one comment, I give Doug, credit for willing to, have the city do some work tearing out the asphalt and the pole. I think that's a great idea. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, any other initial questions you were in the budget?
Well, to piggyback on that, yeah, my only concern about, DPW doing the work though, I mean, so this can be done in the fall then, for the most part, it's kind of between times when they're not mowing and we're not. So, yeah, that's, so I got that and I thought, I was happy to see the, the use of that. The mowing thing, I knew that we were gonna be adding more to our plate. What I'm most worried about is, where the native plants are gonna be and what the care is gonna need to be there. Or try and keep that, trimmed and everything like that. I mean, if you're gonna put, old grass or something like that in there, I mean, you can't just, I mean, in the beginning you can mow it all down, but then you gotta let it go. So, and then you said there's gonna be a bunch of mixed boulders in there. So I'm mostly worried about maintaining that part. I've been worried about that all the way.
So just to clarify for everybody what we're planning on that shoreline with the native plants. It's kind of a belt and suspenders approach. We want to straw mat the area. And underseed it with a native seed mix so that we can get cover, and control the erosion. But then we're also coming in and planting one plants and then some small perennials too. So, the goal is within 2 or 3 years, this sustains large cells. So that the natives will be successful enough to ground out, spread in bases and weeds and things like that. But you're right, the first year or so, it's going to require, some care or maintenance taken on a monthly basis just to go through and pluck out the invasives and things that don't belong there until the native vegetation has a chance to really flush out during this phase.
It's also northern Michigan, so there's not a lot of chance for. We don't have a big growth season. Yeah, those were main questions on it. I understand where it comes from on the seed part, so it's what we've been talking about for a while. There's not a lot of questions.
Any questions before you, okay, you go ahead, just state your name and address, please.
Pete Riddick, 415 High Street, I'm on the Parks and Board Commission. Jim's done a great job of preparing stuff and keeping us informed of what the plan is and what's going on. One thing I want to add to the team didn't mention, but I think it's really imperative. That wall of natural grass and then stuff he was talking about is designed to prevent geese from coming up into from the shore up onto the plant. So keep a lot of that grass from having a lot of.
And we know that probably occurs. Here now, because the boulders further in the way to the north are so high that it reduces the climb that, but even if they can see one over those boulders and find a way to get to it, they're gonna go there. That's why we're extending the native all the way down to where the grade starts to fall off. We're gonna catch it even if they try to make the way
up through here, we have still leaving an opening for you can get to that.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Sandy Richard, 526 East Lincoln. Looks awesome. This may seem like an odd commentary, but the grass variety, just a suggestion, I had to be camping up at Wilderness State Park and they had completely redone the east end. And their campsite field, a lot of foot traffic. So the type of seed, the variety that you use, I don't know if you guys consult with the DNR, but that would be something, and one of the people actually take their site for 2 weeks and there's grass left, which is, well, that's a consideration. Is that something that you would do?
Absolutely, I mean, we've got I don't want to call it low maintenance, but it's a lower maintenance mix that can take a beating without having to be manicured and water to within an inch of its life, but, I know the landscape the landscape subcontractor and had to take recommendations within and from the DNR to get us resilient terms that we don't have to manage.
And then stand up to the biggies and
Yes, and say,
follow chewing in it. The other is a bookkeeping question. It is great, the DPW is gonna step up for the 9,397. My question is, why is that not put into the amount, the 250 that the city is taking out of park funds? Or secondarily, the question is, how is that booked in our budget? I guess my thought would be that should be a charge against park funds. So that's more of a city question. Other than that, it's great to see that it's moving along. If someone can answer the bookkeeping question, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Mike, is there anyone virtually chiming in for public comment?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying anybody. No, there's only 2 of us not on the Zoom right now.
Okay. Before we jump into board discussion, can you provide any feedback or input in regards to the allocation of expenses from Parks and Recs in regards to DPW?
Whenever DPW does any work, their time is assigned. They have various line items that their time is assigned to. So if they're working on parks items, they would be charged to parks accounts.
Okay. Thank you. Is that fulfill the?
It answers the question, it begs the logic, from the standpoint that this is a special project. And one would think this should be charged against the project as opposed to the general fund, personal opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, now again, board discussion, Tom, we can start with you if you'd like.
Sure. This is a project we've been working on a long time. It's, our community is going to be another great asset for our community, and the community is in full favor of this, and we're getting to the final stages where we finally see the results of our work. So I'm full support of moving forward.
Mike?
Yeah, much echo what Tom said, and then I guess, this is this is the part we've been waiting for, so, I'm all for getting, this part into place, and then we'll see, how the rest of the, phases fade out. Because, we're gonna have to have a good bit of soul searching, figuring out how we're gonna take care of it and maintain it, and, all the extra work on Doug and his team to get this all done, so. But this part of phase, I thought we'd already be, past the starting point, so all good.
Yeah, again, Ed, what you guys are saying, really, after from more than one person, it's time to get going, and it's, eyesores within, every people call it, it's great. It's gonna happen, thank you.
I agree, I'm glad that this is actually one of the more common questions that I get asked, the public in regards to the open space, what's happening to the open space. Or more or less just comments as to disappointment by the city isn't doing anything in regards to open space. What we have been, we've been in this process for about a year now, but it does take time. Especially when working with the state. Just a few questions, Doug, in this memo, you support alternatives 1 and 2, but it doesn't state you support alternative 3, that expense for seating. Do you support alternate 3 expense in regards to seating and the hydro seating?
I do.
Okay. And then question for you, Tim, why wasn't seating considered originally in the scope of, when we're about a year ago, when we were looking at expense for the trees, the rocks, and the lawn care, the irrigation, $22,000 a year later, seating, why wasn't that a consideration in the very beginning?
Well, we did have the whole site seated, but the undisturbed part, the part that we're not really touching, the center was a different process. It was to just bring in a top dressing and split seated, and the recommendations we got at the time was that should be good enough to get a consistent stand of grass. Trying to manage budget was probably the only other reason, but we incorporated the alternate because I know Charles Robinson pretty well, and I take him at his word, and we recommend something, and he was real wary of getting a good consistent stand of grass, split seating that interior and top dress, and maybe just recommended that we take an alternate to provide a way of thicker tops.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, so with that, I'm gonna entertain a motion, or I hear from you.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation from the Park and Rec Board Commission to award the bid for the open space improvements project to Montai Corporation Construction with the 3 alternates for an estimated project cost of $510,650. And authorize the city manager and city clerk treasurer to execute necessary documents.
There's
Support.
Is there any additional discussion? Okay, just one real quick question, this is phase 1, if we hit the timelines that you're anticipating within this memo, when do you anticipate the next phase?
Question. Grant last year, this time, didn't get approved. We've got 2 applications at least out there, for which we should hear something by the end of the year. So theoretically, you would think we could start designing and start construction on those additional phases next spring. What throws a kink in that is that the DNR board makes a recommendation to state legislature, and state legislature has to act on it. It's not on the top of their list, and typically that language is until July. This year, it didn't get approved till August. So that puts us another year behind getting the project at least designed and engineered. I mean, try to get it buildable by fall 2024, but more likely to be done or spring start 2025.
All right, there's no other questions or discussion on the area or roll call, please.
Lexer.
Aye.
Sarchet.
Aye.
Moody.
Aye.
Hayhammer.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you. Recording start. All right, moving on, agenda item 9, new business B, asset limited income constraint employee Alice presentation.
We have Rebecca Adams from United Way here to speak with us today. You have in front of you a copy of the Alice and the Crocker PowerPoint.
Okay,
That they each have a copy.
all right,
I'll be able to share with people that are watching.
awesome. And there is, I apologize, there's one slide that's included in there from a Wexford talking presentation that I did, so you'll have to disregard that. As Mike stated, my name is Rebecca Otto, and I want to thank you for stopping when my car broke down so that we could have an Alice conversation and be sure of this presentation. So I work with United Way, and I cover the Sharon region, but I work for United Way of Northwest Michigan, which covers 9 of the 10 counties in Prosperity Region 2. So from Webster to Saudi up north through the Metro States. So what I'm presenting to you today is Alice and the Cross Currents. The Alice report is something that started in a United Way in northern New Jersey. It was a way of telling the story of individual municipalities beyond just what the federal poverty level is. As we know, that is a standard that applies to the entire country, and it has not been revisited since the 60s. And so it doesn't really give us an idea of how people are doing in each municipality. So United Way of Northern New Jersey set out to tell a better story. And so using American Community Survey standards from the United States Census, they addressed each county on a county level and then down to a municipality level for each of the participating states. So Michigan has 5 reports so far that have come out. It comes out every 2 years. So the information that I'm sharing with you is 2021 point in time data. This is the first report since the census in 2020, and it is also including the start of the pandemic years. So what we anticipated going into this report is that the numbers were going to be quite dire. And what we found is that because of the supports that were in place through the pandemic, people actually fared a lot better than they normally do. So if you look at the second slide in there, H2. So again, ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employees. So it's the subset of your constituents that are don't have anything else that they can sell in a financial hardship. They don't have an extra car, an extra house, anything else that they can liquidate when they reach a financial emergency. They're income constrained in the jobs that they're in. There isn't a lot of upward mobility, but they are in fact employed. So this is also a way of telling that story of people who are above those federal poverty line supports, but below what it takes to survive in this economy. So if you switch to page 3, you'll see that what was happening at the same time is you had all this job disruption. People were starting to work from home. People were moving to different areas because they could work from home. You also had pandemic assistance, wage increases that we hadn't foreseen because of the pandemic. And so all of these things kind of set people up and also took them down. So in the state of Michigan, page 4, you'll see the top 20 jobs in Michigan. 70% of those top 20 jobs pay less than 20% or $20 an hour. The top 2 jobs in Michigan are retail sales workers, which as a tourist economy industry here in Boyne City, that makes up a large percentage of the people living here, as well as fast food counter workers. That was the second job. If you look at page 5, you'll start to see that story that I'm telling of the supports that are in place for the pandemic actually helping people survive. So this is the Michigan statewide household survival budget on the left-hand side. So you'll see that it has housing, childcare, food. Last report was the first time that they pulled out technology. There was an understanding that in order to succeed in the current economy, you needed to have technology available, which in rural areas has been a challenge for us. So they pulled that out. And then this report was the first time that they pulled out the taxes because there were so many tax breaks that were happening. They wanted to have something to compare it to. And if you look at that next bar next to it, that is a two full-time worker household with 2 children. And as you can see, they only were able to survive with that helpful budget because of those extra supports of the child dependent care, the child tax credit that was put into place, those stimulus checks that came in. If you look at the next line over, you'll see that 2 part-time worker household was not able to survive. And if you look at the far right, that is what is considered the federal poverty level. So you can see that it's clearly outdated for what is necessary for someone to survive. So if you look at page 6, you're looking at Charlevoix County data for households. Households below the ALICE threshold increased just slightly. Again, we anticipated that those numbers were going to skyrocket during the pandemic. We were very pleased to see that it didn't in fact change that much. What you saw was a lot of people moving out of poverty and into that ALICE threshold where they were Yes,
Do your measures show the total household count for Charlotte County in a comparison of what that percentage is?
I could pull that up on the website. I don't currently have that, but I can give you the percentages of Alice thresholds, which will give you that, for Charlotte County. Charlotte County, I believe, is at 37%. And it breaks it out by Alice. What we call below Alice threshold is that Alice population and the federal poverty line, because that's everyone that's under a household survival budget. Charlotte County is actually faring fairly well compared to a lot of other counties in Michigan. So as you'll see, what happened was a lot of the poverty line households, because of all of those supports, were able to move up a little bit and go into that Alice threshold. But still overall, just a slight increase. We anticipate that this number on the next report will go up drastically, because the next report will have all of the pandemic assistance gone, as well as eviction moratoriums and things like that that have been in place during the pandemic also gone. So we anticipate those numbers will be a little bit more grim. And in the county of Charlotte, your highest hardships were felt by single female-headed households with children, and those who were under 25. Those who fared best during this time were married with children and in the age bracket of 45 to 64. That next page 8 is the one that you can disregard, that is your University of Wexford and Saukey area. But that next graph that I have is Boyne City and Charlotte County together. So you can see the top line is Boyne City, running pretty in line with what Charlotte County as a whole is. This report can pull down to the municipality for that below Alice threshold line, but it doesn't divide that line further into federal poverty line and Alice household. So it's just those two numbers together. Again, as I said, you're faring fairly well. In the worst numbers, we have the East Jordan area. They've been upwards of 69 at their absolute worst. And in Emmett County, the other county that I serve, Elston is also the highest area. They've been upwards of 62% in the past. These are also going to be in line with your numbers for free and reduced lunch and a lot of other metrics that we use. Houselessness is also going to be reflected at around the same percentage as you'll see the Alice numbers. So the next report that will come out will be presented in 2025, and it will have 2023 data. As with a lot of things that we are trying to shift in human services, in an effort to treat those people that we serve with more dignity, we have a lot of shift around substance use. We have a lot of shift around suicidality. And so we're also trying to shift the language around how we refer to people who are struggling in this financial category. So we try to avoid phrases like working poor. Not only is it demeaning, but it also doesn't really tell the whole story. As I've shown you with the federal poverty line that's sorely outdated, referring to the sector as the working poor is really misleading, because these are people that can't access a lot of services because they are actually above that poor threshold. The other things we want to avoid are things like needy, uneducated people on welfare. As I've shown you, a lot of these people are working, sometimes multiple jobs. And so to say that they are sitting back and waiting for a handout is not really the true assessment of people that are in this pool. So instead, we encourage people to change to living paycheck to paycheck, just surviving, not financially stable, struggling to make ends meet, one emergency away from financial crisis. And that last one that has a percentage of poverty, you'll see a lot in programs that are run by our human services agencies in the community. They'll have a threshold in relationship to the FPL, so that they can put federal and state dollars towards those programs. There are parameters for every single program that's out there, whether it's through DHHS or whether it's through Salvation Army or through Habitat. All of them will do it as a percentage relationship to that FPL. Our hope is that we can push on the federal government to reassess this and catch up to a couple of generations that they've missed and reassess the FPL, but until then, this is how we refer to it. And that brings me to what United Way of Northwest Michigan does. So we are a human services agency. Our goal is to connect and mobilize the caring power of our communities. Part of that is working in this role of advocacy and making sure that people understand what it is that is the true picture of your community. We focus on the areas of health, education, and financial stability. So those are the three pillars that we try to put our resources into. Most recently, we were able to open a dental clinic in Traverse City. That is a partnership with the U of M School of Dentistry. And so we are able to see people who are on Medicare and Medicaid 4 days a week and focus on veterans on the 5th day of the week. Part of why we did this was not just to provide this need that we have for our community, but also as a way of getting those dentists that are going through the School of Dentistry to have experience dealing with people who have behavioral or mental health problems. A lot of people in our community end up getting kicked out of their dental practice because they're difficult to work with and dentists don't know how to work with them. And so they end up having this precipitous effect to their health when their dental health isn't taken care of. And so this rotation through our Traverse City clinic is actually a required rotation for these dentists. And we have 2 quiet rooms where we can address the needs of our patients. And we are then training all of these dentists that are going through this program so that they have that in their tool belt when they go out into private practice and can better address the people in their community. It's something that has been a high concern with CMH for quite a while. So the fact that we can address this kind of from the start with the students, as opposed to waiting until we have already established dental practices that are a little bit more picky with who they see. So that's just one of the ways that we address the needs of our community. There's a lot of high level coordination with agencies as well. One of the things that I do is I serve as the head of the human services coordinating body for the 2-county area. So getting to know all of the human services agencies that are existing in our county, as well as ones that are starting, to make sure that they're connecting with each other, not duplicating services, really expanding what we do to serve our communities. So in that United Way role, not only do we look for donors, that's the easy one for people to translate, we're always looking for money. We also advocate, or we also try to sign up volunteers and have them connect with whatever agency is going to be best suited for what they want to do. We have a volunteer portal that is available to any nonprofit free of charge. We have over 1,800 volunteers signed up in that portal. So we're able to expand the reach of agencies and find volunteers for their work. But the piece that I'm most excited about and most passionate about is that advocacy piece, making sure that people understand the true story of people in our community, so that you as decision makers can have that in mind as you move forward. I'd encourage you, as you're looking at revamping your master plans in the future. I've worked with Emmett County and with the city of Petoskey as they're addressing their master plans and trying to look at the numbers and how they're aligned with that process. And making sure that you're addressing the needs of your constituents of those master plans. So as we talk about how everybody is doing in our community and those that are struggling, what I saw out of the pandemic is that we're all in this same storm, but we don't all have the same boats. And so one of the things that we strive to do is make sure that whatever solution we find is the solution that's right for that person, not just for everyone at large. If we had handed everybody a paddle during the storm and people had yachts, they don't need it. If people don't have a boat at all, a paddle's not going to do them any good. So that's really our goal, is to figure out exactly where the needs are in our community and making sure that we can address those specifically. This Terry Eagleton quote kind of gets at the heart of that. Genuine equality means not treating everyone the same, but attending equally to everyone's different needs. And on the last page, you'll see something called 211. If you're not familiar with that service, I would really encourage you to just have that in your back pocket. When people have an emergency, they call 911, they get law enforcement or some other branch of that. When they have a need in our community, they can call 211. It is a free information and referral line designated by the FCC. It's available 24/7 free of charge for anyone to use. It is an aggregation of all of the human services agencies and their programs in our community. If you ever hear someone that say that they called 211 and they weren't able to get help, it's because that help doesn't exist in our community. So one of the really powerful things about 211 is that they're able to give us unmet needs data, and we're able to see what are the highest needs in our community and how do we address those. Overwhelmingly in our 2-county area for Charlotte and County, housing is at the top of the list, has been for 2 years. Whether it's down payment assistance, rental assistance, help with eviction, it has been anything surrounding housing and has stayed steady in that need, even through the pandemic. That was the overwhelming need that we had. So it really helps drive our focus as we're trying to find solutions to know where the needs are in our community and how we can better help. Again, if you have anyone that is in need of something, please tell them about 211. If they don't want to talk to someone on the phone, they can always text. They can search online as well, and it's available in a myriad of ways. Also available in multiple languages. So I'm really there to serve the people. And I will open the floor to any questions. I know I hate with a lot of stuff, but.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any public comments, questions? Anything virtually, Mike?
No, sir.
Okay, moving to the board, Martin.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the United Way and a lot of the information we'll get every year, you know, you guys on the school board and everything, and it's you know, just like you say, with the free and reduced stuff, there's always a need out there. The 211 is a great tool to get out there. I don't think that people you know, from the school board level, I think we did a good job of getting that out. So, but I appreciate the information. It's it is going to be unfortunately interesting to see over the next year and a half how our wonderful government shakes it out. And we're coming into election year, so I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of process. Thanks a lot for all the information.
Yeah, again, the 211 thing, Kevin knew about that, it's blocked it, we will, and I think it's great, it's something we need to get out there, and we have a Facebook page in my office. I'm happy to put that out there too, it's available for people.
The interesting thing was right before, and I say right before the start of the pandemic, I was actually in communication with the UOCs and the 911 station. We're going to be doing a training with all the law enforcement, first responders about this system. Unfortunately, it got slightly derailed when we took over other needs of our community needed it, but I would love any chance to get in front of first responders, especially because they're the ones hitting those people with the needs the most.
Is there any kind of flyer or something we
I have
could,
little business cards that you can hand to someone.
well, I mean, something that outlines, you know, the 211 services that we could, you know, we could hand out to people that are, because we run into people in crisis of some sort or another all the time.
Absolutely.
And sometimes there's just not much we can offer, but knowing that there's more help available.
And one of the other things that we just did is we put out a two-sided bookmark that's co-branded with 98, the mental support services line. So I'd be happy to distribute those as well.
That'd be great.
It's a good two-pronged approach.
Thank you.
I appreciate this, Rebecca. I think the Alice report has been a eye opener for us in the past. I think it kind of gave us some direction when we tackled housing. I think it gave us direction when we tackled recruiting manufacturing jobs that pay more than $20 an hour. I think we had many committees that were studying childcare, and unfortunately, no easy answers to any of those topics. And something sticks out to me is 7% of the top 20 jobs still pay less than $20 an hour. So that makes it tough for everyone. That's right here in Boyne City.
Yeah. And we do have, just to let you know, a couple of other initiatives that we have going on. We have TriShare, which was a state level pilot that they did. We are now the model for the entire state of how to run that. TriCare is a program that the state puts money into, and then, businesses can sign up for tri-share, and it's a 3-way split for childcare costs between the state, the employer, and the employee. We're also rolling out with a modified program, kind of along the same lines, but it will be called tool share for those businesses that don't, fall under the state guidelines, but it will be an employer share. So we have those available for any businesses that might be interested in the Boyne City area of discussing that with our childcare.
Well, I appreciate this, like Bible for us and any government entity that follows, kind of knowing the policy. Anything we can do to help, appreciate it.
Yeah, Rebecca, thank you for the material. I appreciate you taking the time, and communicating this to municipal leadership so they can incorporate this material into that discussion when making those decisions. The 2-on-1 thing is new to me. This first I learned about it. I think we will have an opportunity on our social media to try and find as much of that information out as possible. And if you have any material, I think it's our responsibility to try and gather that information from you, push it out to the community. So I know we got like a card table down at City Hall window there, so if you got business cards or anything, with any information or material, we could get it out to the community, get it to us, even the bookmarks, if you do have bookmarks, I see that was going on those tables down there, and I know Monica would be interested in potentially having to go to the library as well. So again, appreciate the information and material and taking the time.
Thank you for letting me be here.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 9C, compost stream rental contract.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. City of Boyne City accepts leaves and grass as they go out at the Boyne, North Boyne compost facility throughout the year. In return, reusable compost offered free to our residents. One of the board steps to produce these usable things in compost is spring in order to remove sticks, the debris, the plastics, stuff that's in there. Our North Boyne compost facility remains yearly full, and we need to process this material to meet the state's operating requirements. The Public Works Street Foreman has contacted the 2 companies that rent streamer equipment in the Northern Michigan region, and out of the 2, only one actually has something available. The monthly charge for this piece of equipment is $14,100, as well as $2,000 to bring it here and take it back. This was $12,000 less than this was performed. You should be able to screen screenings within probably about a week. I talked to the staff out there. We actually do, our staff actually takes the orders and equipment and actually load all of our stuff onto this giant piece of equipment, and the screening happens. Usually it's about a week, weather depending. So $40,000 has been allocated to cover this expense and budgeted for this year, as well. And from that same account, we fall to the brush rank as well. That will also be done in the future. And also this piece of equipment. So you have to be
Thanks, Doug. Any public comment? Virtually? Listen. Okay, moving to the board, start with Jordan.
Yeah, just to reiterate, so if you guys get this done in a week, we're looking at,
drastic reduction in this cost.
$6,700
Correct.
versus 14.
Yes, if we can get it done in a week, it would be 47 per week, but 2,000, bring it here and take it back. Correct.
Right, okay. That's not.
And most likely be a day by day charge if it was 8 days and 9 days, that kind of thing.
The prorated.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, getting it done sooner, I get that, that would be ideal. We talked about this last time, we never did get there wasn't any clear, what would it cost us, buy this equipment? Any idea?
I can give you a rough estimate, it would be north of Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably closer to that, I mean, based on the size of the equipment.
Yeah, well, no, I understand that, but, you know, this is one that they take, you know, anywhere and everywhere.
Correct.
You know, I think at some point in time, you know, I think it would be always to, you know, look into, possibly a piece of equipment that, you know, we could have and do some of this, you know, on our own. And or we've talked, you know, we talked a lot last year about, either that or we've got to figure out a way to make it more cost effective for the city. But, so those are my questions. I guess, you know, on your free time, I would love to, you're right. And, you know, and see if we could get any information. I want something, and again, it doesn't have to be this monstrosity. You know, there's smaller versions, things that, you know, could handle our stuff, you know. And at that point in time, it doesn't have to be crammed into a week, you know, it could be something that gets dumped on there, you know, just here or there, yeah, stuff like that. So I think that would be good to look into, you know, seeing if there's any possibility of savings there.
Pros and cons everything, right?
Exactly, right. Yeah, exactly. And this, you know, it's their problem. So, there's something to be said for that.
Okay. Good. Okay. Just some comments, well, a quick question, Doug, so, you know, it's so here in this memo, an amount of $40,000 was included in the 2022 and 2023 budget for the screen, compost and road grinding.
Correct.
Will this still be sufficient funds within that budget for the next grinding process?
Even if they receive the 1 week we're anticipating, we'll have to cover, enough for them fresh grind.
Okay,
It's a completely separate thing.
Right.
It's a big tub grinder, then you
Yeah.
have to drop trees and all of the issues, whatever involved. It's a whole different process, yeah, so.
will still be good for this next budget.
I think that was about 23.
I looked it up on this, actually, last year's for the actual, this was around 10, I think, members certainly, so.
2 years ago.
Or 2 years, it wasn't much.
Oh, for this part, I was talking the brush.
Yeah.
So that was one question I had in regards to additional budget expenses that we're gonna continue to face this year and what that condition would look like. And then kind of piggyback on Commissioner Marty, I know you weren't here, but it was a conversation piece. And I know you don't have the free time, immediately to jump on it, but between now and the next time this is it, if there's an opportunity in kind of just trying to eat, like Marty said, even if we're not getting the $500,000 machine, is there something that can, you know, work for our community to minimize this expense? And not only that, is there an opportunity where there's a neighboring community that has this expense as well? And say it doesn't make sense for us to buy our own piece of equipment and potentially reduce that expense by leasing it out to neighboring communities. But maybe there's an opportunity where a neighboring community and we can schedule ours within, and maybe there's a potential savings. I don't know if there ever would be with a vendor like that. They probably don't have any interest in creating savings for, their clientele, but I guess trying to just reach out to the local neighboring communities, see what they're doing, kind of see what their schedule is, what their expense looks like as well, and see if there's any, you know, informal conversation of, well, could we ever get together in a partnership, and would that be something your community would be interested in, obviously, to reduce their expense as well?
I'll stand down there, for sure, after I do that, next year,
Okay. Awesome. Those are the only questions, comments I had, so I can make a motion or entertain a motion at this time.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to consider the recommendation from DPW Director Doug Marty to purchase or contract for the rental of compost screener to Maverick Environmental Equipment of Allen, Michigan, and an amount not to exceed $14,100 plus the $2,000 trucking costs, and to authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents.
Thank you. Ask for please.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. Roll call whenever you do this.
Moody,
Aye.
Hammer,
Aye.
Pastor,
Aye.
Sunshine.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, that brings us to the end of open session, so before we jump into the closed session, I'm gonna jump right to go to the order. Does any commissioner have anything in regards to the review?
Just this one, I know it's been addressed, I know Mike's fielded plenty of complaints on it, I know Doug's fielded plenty of complaints on it. But is there any way, how close are we to stopping the river that runs down Sydney Street?
Oh, you're down the main lane, we clear.
Maybe, yeah. It is on the radar. There are more than one main lane. We want to call it that. It's an order of, it has to be put in order of importance, in terms of when and how we can get to it, but I definitely hope to get to it before, before it release fall, I guess. So, at least that one seems to be a higher priority to me, higher priority. In other words, there's a couple of other ones that are kind of rearing their head as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes.
The biggest one too with that one is once winter gets here, you can ice the rain.
Understood, yeah, that's definitely on the radar. There's a few other things we're looking at for the water taps and prioritizing staff, but I think we can possibly have to do it in the next month.
Yeah.
So bringing this up again, this compost machine, what we've discussed in past years and we never get a handle on it is how do we make that department, or that our compost pile up there, the street to our customers, to our citizens. How do we make it more cost effective? Because, there's, the only revenue is from contractors that deliver, but our costs exceed that revenue because we have to compost and chip material. So it's a long running issue, and it might be on the discussion again in the next year as a item we're done to tackle. One more thing on your plate, if we catch it. And then I was talking to a bunch of guys that golf, I don't golf, and we were talking about the city beach, and they said the machine that they clean sand traps with at the golf course would be ideal for cleaning the city beaches. And now that they're going to get open space, a second beach, that might be something to check into. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but it's some type of a rate system that cleans the beaches. You almost do it daily or weekly, or just to keep our peninsula beach looking perfect.
Okay.
Anything else in regards to review? The only thing I have is, I would just like to give kudos to Pete Pierce from Absolute Comfort. I seen on social media from the city that he helped volunteers time and services in regards to getting the splash pad up and running again. So other than that, that's all I got. So I will make a motion to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
I'll second.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Second.
Meehan,
Aye.
Baxter,
Aye.
Sunshine,
Aye.
Moody,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you.